Yo, what's good, YouTube? Zamco here, aka Scoot, back with the International Draft Masters, Season 2, Week number 5, and we're taking on Carson, one of our new coaches, coach of the Jump City Hitmonlees, who's actually had a tough season so far. He's 0-4 with a -7 differential, but the dude's smart, he knows how to play mons, and he's got an incredible draft. So, looking at his record and differential would be absolutely just belittling of my opponent, and I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to underestimate anybody. Definitely coming into this battle, guns blazing, trying to get a win streak going. If we can win here in week 5, we will be on a 3-game win streak with 4 wins and only 1 loss. So hopefully we can pick up a win here and move on to our week 6 game with already having 4 wins. So hopefully that can happen. My opponent, so Carson, coach of the Jump City Hitmonlees, aka Golden Centurion, he has Z Manaphy, Thunderous Incarnate, Shaman, Nidoqueen, Metagross, Gardevoir, Druddigon, Mega Absol, Miltank, Alola Marowak, and Articuno. So we have Tapu Koko, Mamoswine, Hoopa Unbound, Z Bronzong, Z Volcarona, Serena, Seismitoad, Mienshao, Mandibuzz, Z Mini Hippo, and Mega Garchomp. So we got a pretty fun team. I'm really actually enjoying this team. It's kind of unorthodox, in my opinion. Keep that in mind. I do think my team is unorthodox, but I'm enjoying it so much. I just thought it looked weird on paper, but it's doing what I expected when I drafted it. So hopefully we can keep that up and maybe show off some other cool things that the team can do that you might not know at first glance. So anyways, my opponent's team, like I mentioned, he has Z Manaphy. That alone is pretty terrifying. One of the best mons in the format. Thunderous Incarnate is amazing too, and a really huge threat in the format as well. Nidoqueen is one of the best rockers, Toxic Spiker, and actually a nice wall breaker as well. He does have a nice Fairy Dragon Steel core and a nice Fire Water Grass core, where he's got 2 Pixies in that Fire Water Grass core in Manaphy and Shaman. Got the Alola Marowak to cap it off with the Fire type, which gets Stealth Rocks and can actually spin block. So that's pretty cool. Mega Gardevoir, not Mega, but regular Gardevoir, Metagross, and Druddigon also form a Fairy Dragon Steel core with 2 Stealth Rockers. Wish support, Wish Pass, Heal Bell, Healing Wish, stuff like that with Shaman and Gardevoir. He's got Rocky Helmet, Rough Skin with Druddigon, Priority with Mega Absol, Sucker Punch. Got Miltank, which could be offensive or defensive, or like a setup with Curse, or just a nice reliable Stealth Rocker. Could be your Cleric, a Heal Bell variant, anything like that. Articuno, Z Articuno is actually a huge threat in my opinion. Maybe not to my team specifically, but it could be. It has all the potential to break my core with something like Freeze Dry. It could, wipe through things like Serena, Mandibuzz, Mini Hippo, Mega Garchomp, and Seismitoad even with Freeze Dry. So Freeze Dry would be 4 times effective versus Seismitoad. It would do massive damage. An Ice Beam would do massive damage to Serena, Mandibuzz, Hippo, Mega Garchomp, a nice Choice Spectre, Choice Scarf variant. I do have Bronzong to switch in all the time, really, but his team with things like Manaphy, Thunderous, Nidoqueen, Metagross, Druddigon, Miltank, I'm taking a lot of damage, and Bronzong doesn't have reliable recovery, so bringing Articuno and spamming, or even like an agility set with 3 attacks, or maybe Z Hail or something, it could, and then have Blizzard. So yeah, lots of different things. Articuno could be a huge threat, and I love that, because those 3 birds are like 3 of my favorite legendaries of all time. My opponent also has things like I mentioned, Shaman, Nidoqueen. He has 4 reliable Stealth Rockers. He doesn't have solid removal. He only has 2 Defoggers, which are taking quite a bit from rocks anyway. And he has Magic Bounce, so no Rapid Spin or anything like that. So big threats to my team would be things like Manaphy, Thunderous, Nidoqueen, Metagross. Gardevoir could be a huge threat. Like I said, his team really pressures. Like Bronzong is such a good answer to a lot of his team, that he can bring all of his team and pressure Bronzong to open, you know, the door for something like Gardevoir or an offensive Miltank or an offensive Articuno, Shaman even. So yeah, I do think Bronzong has its work cut out for it this match. I could bring, like, I never saw myself bringing Hippo or Mega Garchomp in this matchup. Mostly because he has Z Manaphy, and it's not like a, like, even if I win the Weather War, he could potentially have like Z Rain Dance. He could have Ice Beam, Scald, and that's, I guess, Ice Beam, Scald, and Energy Ball is really all you need versus my team with a Tail Glow and like a bulky like max HP, max special attack Tail Glow Manaphy could really put in the work versus my team, and you'll see why I have this specific Serena set later. So yeah, let's go ahead and just hop into the team builder here. I do think Tapu Koko matches up well against his team. It does outpace the entirety of his team outside of choice Scarf users. So, you know, we'll be able to revenge kill Manaphy as long as it doesn't have a speed boost. Revenge kill Thundurus. Revenge kill Dredagon, Mega Absol, Articuno, and then can pick off weakened mons like Metagross, Gardevoir, Miltank, and Alola Marowak. Well, Alola Marowak and Nidoqueen and Shaman have to be chipped quite a bit, actually. Actually, a max HP Shaman is taking roughly 35 to 40% damage from Dazzling Gleam, a Life Orb Dazzling Gleam. So that's pretty cool. My opponent also has Nidoqueen, which is taking nothing from Thunderbolt and pretty close to nothing from Dazzling Gleam. So I do have the Nature's Madness here to be able to hit Nidoqueen, Shaman, and Alola Marowak on the switch in, and then switch out into something that can combat that. And then when I get Koko in the following, later in the match, when those mons come in, they won't be so healthy after taking the Nature's Madness. They'll be at, you know, 50% or less. So that's pretty cool. And I have the Roost there so that I can roost up on things like, like if I know, say I'm really low HP and he's got still a full HP Nidoqueen. I would like to, if I know that's going to be a switch in, instead of attacking and getting pitiful chip off, I would rather just roost up. Same for things like potential, okay, for example, if Dredagon and Absol are in, and I'm weakened and he wants to go for the Sucker Punch, I could just roost up and avoid the Sucker Punch attack. Avoid the Sucker Punch attack, and it also helps me with my Life Orb recoil, so I can get a lot of my health back. With the Electric Terrain up, Thunderbolt knocks out Manaphy, unless he's like Wakandberry. It also, after Stealth Rocks, it knocks out a Thundurus, unless he's like max HP with some Spadef investment or something like that. Shaman is not taking much from Thunderbolt, but like I said, it's a 3-hit KO with Dazzling Gleam after Stealth Rocks. Nidoqueen isn't taking much. AV Metagross isn't taking much, and it's actually very bulky all around. But in the Electric Terrain, Thunderbolt's still doing a lot if he's like offensive. Gardevoir, same for Gardevoir. It's got really high Spadef naturally, so I can bop it with the Nature's Madness, and then later on potentially 2-hit KO it or something. And then Dredagon, it should drop to the Dazzling Gleam, but I've saw weirder things. I've saw Dredagon actually survive a Hyper Voice from a Mega Gardevoir back before the buff on the Pixelate ability and all the Elate abilities. So yeah, Dredagon can definitely be bulky enough to take a Dazzling Gleam. But yeah, hoping to chip it, you know, beat it down. It's, you know, expected to be a switch in for maybe, actually I don't expect it. I mean, it could come to negate me and Xiao from like U-turns, you know, spamming U-turn and stuff like that. But yeah, and this thing, like I mentioned, it outpaces his entire team. If you could see my speed stat, I'm setting it 363 speed, which is 2 points higher than Mega Absol. I wanted to make sure that I could outpace that, just in case like he ran like a max speed Mega Absol predicting me to speed creep him, speed creeping a lesser, you know, a slower Pokemon. So yeah, Tapu Koko is definitely a huge threat to my opponent's team. So next up, we have Mamoswine. We have a substitute Earthquake, Icicle Crash, Ice Shard, Metronome set with an Adamant Nature, just enough speed to outpace base 100s that aren't running any speed investment by 10 points, and then got a little bit of HP investment. Nothing too crazy about this spread. And thick fat, so I can take hits from Articuno and Alola Marowak just a little bit better, and potential, hidden power ice from Thunderous Incarnate or Ice Beam from Manaphy and so on. I think the Metronome. Okay, so if I set up an a substitute, and then I can start spamming Earthquake. After 4 turns, my attack stat is essentially at +2. So basically everything's dropping to an Earthquake outside of like his immunities and Thunders and his resistance and like Shaman, like a fat Shaman. But if he brings in a Shaman to break my Earthquake spam, then I can always, when he's breaking my sub, I can always bop him with the Icicle Crash. Or switch accordingly if I don't have a sub up or something like that. Or if he's weakened enough, I can pick him off with the Ice Shard. Or if I know he's bulky enough and it's impossible for him to have speed investment, then I can just attack with Icicle Crash once again, like I mentioned, with or without a sub up. So yeah, that's the idea behind Mamoswine. It's a nice lead versus my opponent, since my opponent could lead with Stealth Rock's Nidoqueen, Stealth Rock Metagross, Stealth Rock Druddigon, and Stealth Rock Miltank. So I could potentially Nidoqueen, Metagross, and Druddigon don't appreciate Earthquake and Icicle Crash, and Miltank doesn't appreciate me getting up a sub and then starting to spam Metronome Earthquakes. So yeah, this is a pretty cool set, and I hope it can work out. Naming it, AccuVGC and Neandro, and AccuVGC, my first 2 picks for this matchup respectively. And next up we got my boy I'm Pledge, our Hoopa Unbound, which is our Choice Scarf Mon this week, and the Mon that this team is built around. So I looked at my opponent's team and I thought that an Adamant Choice Scarf Hoopa Unbound could really put in the work versus my opponent. Could revenge kill weakened Mons like Manaphy, Thunders Incarnate, Shaman, Nidoqueen, Metagross, Gardevoir, Druddigon, Mega Absol, Alola Marowak, Articuno, and if Miltank's beat down or chipped enough, then I could beat it down as well. And if he's got something that's a huge threat to my team, I could always Choice Scarf Destiny Bond and take it down with me, such as something like, say he has, like, say Mamoswine has went down and I'm having a hard time defeating Shaman. Say his Shaman is super Spadef and my Koko can't break it and my Mamoswine is down, and the rest of my team, you'll see in a minute, is very passive, especially against something like Shaman. I could always bring this thing in when Shaman's at full and he's going to expect me to attack or something, and he might try to pick me off if I'm weakened, and I can just click the Choice Scarf Destiny Bond and bring something down with me, hopefully. Outside of that, I'll be spamming Choice Scarf, Adamant, Max Attack, Knockoff, Hyperspace Fury, Zen Headbutt until further notice. So yeah, and if I lose my Choice Scarf, say I get knocked off by Mega Absol or I don't know if he's got other Pokemon that have a Choice Scarf. Perhaps Thundurus, maybe, or Manaphy. I can always steal an item back with Magician. So if I lose my Choice Scarf, I could potentially get a Black Sludge from Nidoqueen, which I wouldn't want, obviously, but I could get leftovers from Metagross, a Scarf or Specs from Gardevoir, Rocky Helmet from Druddigon, leftovers from Miltank, so on and so forth, or even a Thick Bone from Alola Marowak, which would be weird, but you never know. And if like he brought a slow team or something like that, and I don't actually need my Choice Scarf, and I got it knocked off, and actually stole a Life Orb from something like Thundurus Incarnate or Nidoqueen or Gardevoir or something like that, and stole a Life Orb back, an Adamant Life Orb Hoopa Unbound would literally be unbound. Literally. So yeah, it's going to be my third pick for this matchup. And next up we got our boy Bronzong, or Sebi VGC, Bronzong, Mastermind. We got a Cobra Berry this week. My opponent does have, you know, Druddigon, and Thunders, which could get dark coverage. But most importantly, he has Mega Absol, and I would like to live at least one hit from that and be able to get massive amounts of damage off with Gyro Ball. Stealth Rock, Gyro Ball, Earthquake, and Toxic will do the job versus this team, I do believe. Just get up Stealth Rocks, click Gyro Ball for the majority of the match. I can get a little chip on everything with Gyro Ball. Don't necessarily like it, but things like Manaphy, Alola Marowak that might want to switch in on me, or Miltank that might want to switch in on me, I can catch him with the Toxic and then just switch out. And then I'd be in actually a pretty good position. Earthquake catches the Alola Marowak, which is a likely switch in. And it does, like Gyro Ball does enough to everything outside of like Metagross. So Earthquake's definitely going to be bopping Metagross if he brings it. And that's the idea behind that. My special defense investment allows me to live hits from +3 Manaphy. Not hits, but, you know, live a hit from +3 Manaphy. Be able to get off a Toxic. I can live, I do have a Cobra Berry, but outside of my Cobra Berry, I can still live a Life Orb Dark Pulse from Thunders Incarnate. Shaman with Hidden Power Fire isn't doing that much to me either. Even without Heat Proof, I do have the Levitate because it works better versus his team. He does have Nidoqueen, he does have Metagross, he does have Druddigon. So yeah, running Levitate's a little bit better versus Earthquake, Earth Power, etc. I can take Shadow Balls from Nidoqueen, Earthquake, Meteor Mash into Earthquake, even with an attack raise, doesn't knock me out because I do have the Levitate ability. So that's pretty dope. Don't really have to worry about Metagross being too big of an issue. This thing checks Gardevoir pretty well, and that's the main reason for this, since Gardevoir can actually eat hits from Coco if it's very Spadef, and it can, if it's Choice Scarf with Moonblast, it can potentially knock out my Hoopa Unbound. So having a check for that's really nice. Miltank's not doing too much to me, but like I'm not doing too much back, so I do need to land the Toxic on it, and I need to be able to bop it up with Gyro Balls afterwards. And if it's a curse set, then my Gyro Balls are doing less, and I need to watch out for that. Alola Marowak gets bopped by the Earthquake, takes rocks and Earthquake damage. It won't do that too many times. And then Gyro Ball 100% knocks out the Articuno, and like after Stealth Rocks, and does quite a bit from full anyway. So not too worried about Articuno. It is a huge threat to my team, but since I do have the Bronzong and Tapu Koko and Thick Fat Mamoswine and Choice Scarf Hoopa, it's not too big of an issue, I don't think. So moving on to our next Pokemon, we have our Yachiberry Serena. It is not nicknamed, unfortunately. Anyways, this Pokemon has the ability Queenly Majesty. I bring this because it prevents priority. So Metagross can't go Bullet Punch, Druddigon can't click Sucker Punch, Mega Absol can't click Sucker Punch, so on and so forth. I do have the Yachiberry so that I can live a +3 or a Ice Beam from Manaphy, or a +2 Hidden Power Ice from Thunders Incarnate. Takes an Ice Punch from Metagross as well. Obviously don't want to lose my Yachi on a Ice Punch or anything like that. And if he does bring the Articuno with this Yachi, I can potentially save myself. So that's the idea there. I do have the U-turn so that I can just get momentum. Come in on Manaphy, take a Scald, just click U-turn. His switch-ins are likely Shaman or Alola Marowak or Gardevoir, Miltank, Druddigon. I do have Drop Kick, which isn't doing much to his entire team, but it's what I need for Manaphy. And then I have Synthesis for longevity and Endeavor, so that I know if I get my, okay, so if my opponent has like a +3 Manaphy that has no special attack investment, and he pops my Yachiberry on the turn that I Synthesis, so I get back to full after he pops my Yachiberry, I synthesize back up to close to full or something like that, and I know my opponent's about to bop me with another +3 Ice Beam, but it's not going to kill because of my special defense investment, and I'm going to live on like 1 or 2%, and click Endeavor. My opponent's going to come down to 1 or 2% as well, and then Coco, Mamoswine, or Hoopa Unbound can Revenge Kill. Choice Scarf Hoopa can then Revenge Kill a potential Manaphy that would do that to me, or it could happen with Thunders or Nidoqueen or really just about anything. that's trying to knock me out and doesn't get the knockout. And I get really low, and then Endeavor brings my opponent really low as well. Yeah, I got enough defense investment to take hits from like Metagross, Druddigon, Mega Absol. I can't repetitively take hits from Mega Absol, but I can take one and like synthesize up and maybe get a U-turn off and get a little chip on it. And that's just about it for Serena. And next up we have our fat ass Mandibuzz. It's defensive Mandibuzz. So it can take hits and throw off a foul play, roost. Mainly though, the reason I brought it was to take hits from Mega Absol and Alola Marowak, because Alola Marowak's a threat. After Stealth Rocks, if Alola Marowak is speedy, it can actually potentially 2-hit KO me with Flare Blitz, which can do anywhere from 50 to 60%. So yeah, that's pretty scary. I do have the foul play though, so after Stealth Rocks, I can bop him with the foul play, and if he's offensive, it should do quite a bit. I don't know if it'll knock him out, but it should do quite a bit. And after 2 rounds of Stealth Rock, it does knock him out from 50%. Unless he's, like I said, max HP or very bulky or something like that. So I got Leftovers, and the Overcoat ability, it just prevents, you know, like powder damage and like Sandstorm and Hail recoil and stuff like that. So if he brings like Z-Hail on Articuno, I am immune to that with Mandibuzz. I'm also immune to powder moves as well. Leftovers helps me just a little bitty bit. It actually could potentially be the difference between being 2-hit KO'd or surviving versus a Alola Marowak. And literally almost physically, max physically defensive here. And it's really needed in this match. And I have the Defog to get rid of rocks. I don't think I actually needed Defog though. I think U-turn would have been a little bit better, because my opponent can't really stack hazards outside of Nidoqueen, and my team actually deters Nidoqueen. You know what I'm saying? Like I have this lead Mamoswine that I'm bringing, so there's no way he's getting up Toxic Spikes and Stealth Rocks with one Pokemon. But if he chooses to lead Nidoqueen and gets 1 layer of Spikes up, I guess it could have been problematic. So I'm okay with bringing Defog, I guess. And then Taunt is there so that if my opponent wants to hard switch into Manaphy or Thundurus or something like that, I could potentially catch them with a Taunt and prevent them from setting up on my switch out, which is nice, since I can't really damage either Manaphy or Thundurus with this set. And then Roost, obviously, for longevity. But yeah, that's the idea. I can also potentially outpace things like Nidoqueen, Metagross, Druddigon, Miltank, Alola Marowak, and prevent rocks with Taunt. So I guess it's a double-edged sword. But yeah, we can go ahead and hop into the replay now, and we'll see what happened. Alright, so here we are with the replay, and my opponent chooses to bring the Manaphy, Thundurus Incarnate, Alola Marowak, Mega Absol. I got those two swapped, Shaman, and the Nidoqueen. So he only has 2 Stealth Rockers out of his 4, and it's likely that it's more inclined to be Nidoqueen, since Alola Marowak actually has a pretty nice offensive matchup versus me, with Shaman support versus Seismitoad. So I think that's pretty cool. And I think my opponent doesn't bring the option for Trick Room, but an Alola Marowak under Trick Room versus my team is pretty scary. So now looking at that, had he brought like Gardevoir or something with Trick Room, it would be actually pretty scary, and I would have had to play around it a lot different. So I'm really glad he didn't, but still yet, Alola Marowak's a threat. Manaphy's still a huge threat, and Thundurus can also be a huge threat. The great thing about Choice Scarf Hoopa Unbound versus Thundurus here in this matchup is I do not have to fear Prankster Thunderwave anymore, since I'm a Dark type, and Dark types are immune to the Prankster ability nowadays. So that's pretty cool. I do think he's going to lead with Nidoqueen. He could lead with Manaphy, predicting my Mamoswine lead. I do have a pretty reliable Stealth Rocker in Bronzong to lead with, so I think he could also lead with Mega Absol and just click knockoff, but I could be Coldberry, which I am, but he doesn't know that. And I could, you know, in his mind, I guess he's thinking that, you know, he could be Coldberry and he doesn't want to attack me and then take a gyro ball or anything like that. But it would deter rocks a little bit longer in the match, I guess, if you could get your Magic Bounce user Mega Evolved already. I'm just going to lead with Mamoswine though, so we'll see what he leads with. And he's going to lead off with Nidoqueen here. So he's got a pretty easy switch in to Shaman or Manaphy on an Earthquake or Icicle Crash. But he also has like other options, like just staying in and clicking Stealth Rock. He could potentially be Choice Scarf. He could also get up a Spike as well, or he could just attack me. But I'm just going to click Earthquake and try to knock this thing out. I'm going to get a crit. So let me explain something about this game. Me and Carson played this game about 5 or 6 times before we got all the way through the match without any hacks. Because on turn 3 of the first battle, he actually missed a Focus Blast to revenge kill my Mamoswine on turn 3 with Thunders. So I offered him a restart and he accepted, and we restarted the match. And then we got a little bit further in the match and something else happened, and then, you know, we had to keep recreating until it was perfectly with no hacks. But we do get a turn 1 crit here, but it's not going to matter because in the original match it was a 2-hit KO regardless, because the Earthquake brought him down to 16% last time, and the crit just, you know, brought him down to his sash. So the only difference is that I actually know that he was, you know, focused that year. Anyways, he does get his Stealth Rocks up here, as I'm just going to be able to 2-hit KO him here. So I thought he could maybe save it as for a sack later on in the match or something. But now Nidoqueen went down. So if you look at his team, he's got 3 Pokemon that actually deterred Coco a little bit. And now one of them is gone. The other 2 being Alola Marowak and Shaman, which aren't as good as Nidoqueen is at checking Coco in my opinion. So my opponent does get his Stealth Rocks up. I can defog later potentially. But like I mentioned earlier, as long as he didn't get Toxic Spikes up, I was pretty fine with keeping these rocks around. So now my opponent is going to bring in Thunders, and like I said, in the original battle, he misses this Focus Blast, and I immediately offered a restart and recreate. And here my opponent actually misses again. In the second and third and fourth, like this is the first time he missed Focus Blast outside of the original battle. He hit like 3 in a row in our other recreations, but he actually missed this one. And for some reason I clicked Icicle Crash instead of Earthquake to be safe, but luckily I missed my Icicle Crash as well. So finally he's going to land his Focus Blast here, and this is where we should have been in the battle. And so what happens here, after we recreated the battle the first time, my opponent actually got a Dark Pulse Flinch here. And he popped my Cobra Berry, and I wasn't able to get my Stealth Rocks up. But my opponent, as I offered a restart, he offered a restart as well. Or he offered to just click Hidden Power Ice. So it was okay for him to click Hidden Power Ice, but we realized in the final battle that he wouldn't have had that extra, you know, Life Orb chip if he clicks Hidden Power Ice. So luckily, we ended up finding like I said, this one was perfect. There was no hacks that actually influenced the battle. The only time that was different, that the hacks was actually here, was the misses at the beginning when Thunders and Mamoswine missed on the same turn. So everything's playing out the right way this time, and everything's at the health it should be at this time. So yeah, I'm able to get my Stealth Rocks up with no flinch, and now he switches out to Shaman as I switch out to my Coco. I switched out to Coco because I was expecting Thunders to go for another Dark Pulse on my Bronzong. I'm not sure why he switched into Shaman, but if he was predicting my Coco to come in, then that was an amazing play because he got me. And now he's got Shaman in. I'm not wanting to take a Seed Flare, and I definitely don't want to take an Earth Power either. So I'm just going to switch it right back out to my Bronzong, as my opponent does click the Seed Flare and does a little bit of chip damage to me, and gets the Spadef drop. So this Spadef drop doesn't matter in a sense, because in the original battle we made it up to turn 14 which should have been like turn 12 or 13 without all the turns that were wasted. So this special defense drop doesn't matter because my opponent actually doesn't attack me in the original battle, so he's not forced to attack me here. He throws off a sub as I throw off a toxic. And this is what, you know, the battle should have looked like right here, but without the SPDF drop. But it didn't matter because I didn't take a hit. So I hard switch out into Mandibuzz as he goes for hidden power, likely fire. And I get my Mandibuzz up here, and if that means taking a lead seed, that's fine. And here's where I mentioned that having U-turn over defog would be a little bit better. Since I'm not going to be getting rid of rocks, and he didn't get up his toxic spikes, I would like to just click U-turn here, but I don't have it. So that's a bit unfortunate for me. My opponent switches out to Thundurus, and his natural cure activates as I hard switch into Serena. The reason I hard switched into Serena was because I wanted to get, okay, so he would go for the hidden power fire or synthesis, or switch out, like he did switch out. So switching into Serena was my best play, as I can avoid lead seed, and I can just U-turn out on the Shaman. And if he switched into anything else, I can also U-turn out, like on Manaphy or Thundurus here. However, if he went into Mega Absol or Alola Marowak, I would be more inclined to hard switch into Mandibuzz. Anyways, I'm just going to click, I think I click U-turn here as he pops my Yachi Berry. That was a bit unfortunate, but it is what it is. I could have hard switched into Coco on the ice, but I didn't want to take any extra damage. But I'm able to get Coco in here and scare out the Thunders. I'm going to click, even though Thunderbolt can knock out, I'm going to click Dazzling Gleam as it can catch the Shaman or the Alola Marowak on the switch in. And here's where our battle lasted originally, but I got a crit here. And my opponent actually was at like 20% instead of 30%. So I was going to guarantee knockout with the following Dazzling Gleam. It turns out that it was a roll in my favor anyway, and without the crit here, and with his leftovers, I'm going to be able to hit KO him anyway. And I get another crit there, but like I said, it was like, here's at 36%, so I had to get a minimum roll at 35 or something like that, and the high roll being like 40, something similar to that. And like, we just agreed that the roll was in my favor, and that crit probably didn't matter either. So he brings in his Alola Marowak to revenge kill me. And I do have a pretty decent switch in, being my Mandibuzz. I am faster, I can roost up. Maybe I'm faster. It's unlikely that he's max speed Marowak, so I'm going to roost up here. And the first one did 61%. So I checked the calcs, and it does 51 minimum and 60.9, which rounds up to 61 maximum. So I have a really good chance of living this next one here, but my opponent's going to get a critical here. But we've played this so many times that it kind of didn't matter to me at this point. And I felt like Coco could still win at this point. I just needed Alola Marowak weakened, and now that it's weakened after taking 2 Flare Blitz recoils, I can just bring in Coco and spam Dazzling Gleam and Thunderbolt to win the game. Or so I think. So I just go into Coco here and click Dazzling Gleam. Get rid of the Alola Marowak. He brings in the Thundurus Incarnate, and I was so confused on why he brought this in, but it was just to get that Life Orb recoil on my Coco, so that I would be in range of his Sucker Punch with Mega Absol. But like I mentioned in my team builder, I do have Roost on here for situations where I would be facing a Mega Absol at low health, and I'm able to Roost up here, click off the Life Orb Dazzling Gleam, and the Life Orb Thunderbolt should clean up the match in the electric terrain, and we're going to pick up a very, very clean and very nice 4-0. It took a while to get our match the way it should have been. We had a little bit of hacks on turn 3 in the original battle, and then we had a little bit of hacks on turn 13 or 14 in the recreated battle. But once we got the battle perfectly made without any hacks, outside of the Mandibuzz crit and the Shaman crit, which were rolls, but I guess the roll on Shaman was way in my favor, and the roll on Mandibuzz was still in my favor, but it didn't really change the outcome of the battle, so I let the roll on Mandibuzz go and let Coco finish up the match for me. So yeah, really pleased with Coco's performance in the last couple battles. It's one of the it should be in the running for one of the league, one of the highest kill leaders in the league now at this point. So yeah, super happy about that. Good game to Carson and, you know, his Jump City Hitmonlees. He follows to 0-5, but like I mentioned, it doesn't reflect on his team or his ability or anything like that. This is just a really, like, all these coaches in the league are really solid battlers. They could all be 5-0 at this point or 0-5. We have 3 teams with no with no wins, and all 3 of them could have very well be 5-0 at this point. We have 2 teams with only 1 or 2 wins that could also just be teams with only 1 or 2 losses, and we have teams with 4 and 5 wins that could have been teams that, you know, only had 1 or 2 wins. So yeah, it's just coming down to the prep. There's been some really solid battles. Some of the games, some of the coaches have been cursed this season, and some of the hacks is actually balancing out for some other coaches. I think we've had a pretty clean season so far. Our first game wasn't determined by RNG. Our second game wasn't. Our third game wasn't. Our fourth game wasn't. And our fifth game, actually, all of our games have been clean wins or a clean loss by out-prepping our opponents or being out-prepped by our opponent. So, yeah, we're going to move on to 4-1 with a +11 differential. Coco now has 12 kills and 3 feints, so setting in a nice +9 differential with 12 kills. That's pretty dope, and not even halfway through. Well, I guess we're going into the halfway mark when we hit week 6, since we're only got 11 weeks this week or this season. We will be facing the New Orleans Feints next week, coached by Novahawk, who's a new coach in this league as well. But last time I played him was, I think, Season 2 or Season 3 of the ITL. I'm actually leaning more towards Season 2 when me and Aki played in the finals, that I played Novahawk last in that league, where I think he beat me, but it was by, like, me. Oh, I think he had Cresselia, I think he had Thunder's Therian, and he had like a Thunder's Therian sweep, like a double dance sweep or something like that. Both of us weren't as competent as a competent battler as we are now, and yeah, I think we're both definitely improved a lot since a couple years ago, and this one should be a really good battle. And he's got a really solid team. I have a really solid team, even though mine's unorthodox. I do think it's solid. He has a very solid team, and we'll be looking forward to that. So yeah, let me know what you thought about the prep and the battle of this one. Let me know what you think about Coco. Hoopa Unbound. We're 5 games in now, and Hoopa Unbound doesn't have a kill, yet it doesn't have a death either. I don't know if it's been on the field yet. I've brought it to 2 games, maybe 3, but I don't think it's hit the field. I think week 4 and week 5, both my teams were built around Hoopa, but Hoopa didn't even actually get to do what it was supposed to do, which was in one battle it was to be a choice scarf variant and clean up, and in the other one it was meant to, you know, break my opponent's team or potentially set up and sweep with a sub power-up punch set and a Salic berry. So yeah, really looking forward to Hoopa's eventual work ethic and whenever it wants to put in some work. So yeah, let me know what you thought about the battle. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.